On this episode of Seedsman Strain Sessions, we have some special guests. Legendary breeder Mr. Soul from Brothers Grimm, as well as the legends Ice-T and Montel Williams. And you're not going to want to miss this episode.
Absolute pleasure, gentlemen. You guys are absolute staples in the space. Mr. Soul doing some really incredible things, if not a pioneer. Ice and Montel really making a name for themselves over the last few decades in regards to the cannabis space, the dedication. And this is going to be a really good episode in regards to diving into genetics and your guys' perspective in regards to just what it takes to maintain quality genetics within this culture of today.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you.
So you guys have a collaboration going right now, which is crazy to see, man. We've got Body Count with Ice-T, and we've got Montel's Dream Widow, which is crazy to see a collaboration with these kinds of genetics, man. Purple Urkel and Rosetta Stone having Jack Hare and Cinderella 99 is nuts for me to see this old school stuff making a comeback. It's huge. And then also, again, the White Widow and Blue Dream. Dude, like it's something. This is different, and it's old. It's bringing back something that we are all familiar with in a new form. So
yeah, perfect expression. What's old is new again.
Right.
Exactly, man. Montel, if you want to break down a little bit, because you got one coming out here soon, and with the White Widow and Blue Dream, a lot of people are familiar with this. It's not one we have to explain the genetics behind it, but what was the passion behind this collaboration that really sparked it?
Well, you know, when Mr. Soul reached out and said, "Hey, look, Montel, I'd love to put something together for you. If you have a couple things that are strains that are really important to you, we could probably make you a nice, hybrid. We'll call it a hybrid. That's what I'll call it." And I said, you know what? Honestly, I used to travel. Let me tell you a little crazy story. Back before this was all vogue, my friend. When you guys are sorry, I'm not being a dick when I say it, but when you guys were still riding on those tricycles, I was flying in and out of Holland, Amsterdam, and I was visiting coffee shops over there all the time from 2001 to 2005. And my favorite strain in Holland, in Amsterdam, was the White Widow. And I did a little White Rhino. I used to do a little White Russian. But, I would try my damnedest to bring back a couple seeds if I could, and have somebody grow them for me. But it never, ever, ever hit the same mark over here as it hit over there. But that was my favorite. And then, because, I know a lot of you know this, because of my own personal illness and my battle with, MS, I was looking for something that had a really good blend of, good cannabinoids, not just THC, but CBD, CBN, CBC, CBG. I was talking about this stuff back in 2002, 3, 4, when people were just getting aboard the train. And, I thought, boy, I wonder what that would be like if you cross those two. And Dr. Soul said, "So, are you kidding me? I can make this happen, brother. I got the original genetics right here." And I was like, okay, let's look at it, because, when people don't know, White Widow is, a hybrid in its own sense, okay? And then Blue Dream is a hybrid in its own sense. So now we've taken those two that were put together years ago and put those together. And my goodness, I've been looking at the videos that Dr. Mr. Solzman sent to me. It looks great, as frosty as it could be, as sticky. I mean, when you've heard all the rappers in the the mid 2000s talking about sticky, icky, ooh, this is the sticky, ickiest you ever will see.
Snoop Dogg would approve.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
In fact, those
and
names,
that's the thing.
Any of those cannabis names starting with White something, White Rhino, White Widow, like Montel was referring to, that's coming from the fact that they're so crusted with resin that they look white, obviously.
Now, that's the crazy part, too, is you see these old school genetics and people sleep on them these days. But the medicinal properties, this is where a lot of the things are being slept on. We're smoking nothing but runts and gelatos and the same olds. And if the recreational side's there, I get that. But we're losing touch of the soul, no pun intended, of the plant. And I think that's the beautiful part. Both you guys bringing this out with Ice, with you having Purple Urkel, which is that's oldish school. But then the Rosetta Stone having Jack Hare and Cinderella 99, man, you brought some old school out. You want to talk a little bit about kind of what even brought you and Mr. Soul together initially, I guess. It'd be cool.
Well, I'm the opposite of Montel. I didn't know nothing about weed, right? I don't know nothing about weed. I never got high. I don't smoke weed. I was like a straight edge cat my whole life because the life I led, I was always scared of being high because I had to just be on point. You understand?
Mhm.
So I had to, of course, I had sold a little weed when I was a kid, this, that, and the third, but never into it. So then I had to, there was a moment when we were working with the governor of New Jersey and Phil Murphy, and we were helping him fundraise, and we go to him, and I stance on cannabis. Now, I've never had a problem with cannabis. Weed was the only drug we would allow our guys to touch. If you was hanging with us, you could smoke weed, you could drink, but if you did anything harder, we wouldn't fuck with you because we knew you were dangerous. A motherfucker on drugs will rob you and apologize to you while he's robbing you because he told you just combine. So we were like, all right, smoke a little weed, man. But other than that, I never had a problem with weed because I've never heard it do anything wrong to anybody. I've never heard anybody. I just figure weed gives you what I call chronic delay. Like if I ask you want to go to the store, you'll go, yeah. Like it's a delay that it puts in. So I was like, that's it. That's the worst thing. So I got to the governor and I asked him, he said, I'll legalize. So me being a hustler, I'm like, I got an inside lane on this. I know something. So I got with my friends in Los Angeles, Luke and Cherish, who run a thing called The Medicine Woman. And I said, would you be willing to mentor me if I got a chance to open up a dispensary, strictly for business? And they said, not only will we mentor you, we'll team up with you. We'll partner with you. And after 4 years and a lot of red tape, we got the Medicine Woman open in Jersey City, New Jersey. And of course, like I said, I don't smoke anything, but I got hooked on gummies. I started doing gummies. I was like, yo, what the fuck? Right? So like I said, I'm not anti any drug. I'm anti hard drugs, right?
Yeah. You were in New Jack City. You saw that shit. You know what it is, man.
Yeah, I know.
Shit.
I know exactly what it is, and I know things that's gonna hurt you. But the reason my dispensary is called the Medicine Woman is because we hit it from the medicinal side of it. A lot of people, it helps people, it does things for people. Like it helped Montel dealing with his stuff. So I was like, okay, at this point in my life, I don't want to do anything negative. I want to do things that are positive. So I had a friend in LA who used to be a coke dealer, who is one of my boys. Now he's straight. So he goes, I met these people, Brothers Grimm, and they want to do a seed. And I'm like, a seed? I'm like, all right, I'm interested. I'm in the space now. What's going on? He said, no, these are the best. So I turned my people Luke and my friends, I said, check them out. Because I don't know. You can sell me a motherfucker, but I don't know. So they said, no, these motherfuckers are the truth. This is the ones. So I'm like, okay. And then they're excited. They're gonna mix this with that, and they're gonna make your shit. And I'm like, it's gonna be the bomb. I said, okay, we're gonna name this shit Body Count. Then fuck it. Like let's go with it.
That shit hits.
Just counting on Brothers Grimm to get me to the cannabis cup. You know what I'm saying? I'm an outsider in the space. But of course, if I'm putting my name to it, I want it to be the best. But really, by being able to team up with the best in the business, I'm quite sure that my strain is going to be better than Montel's.
Oh my goodness! Well, you know, brother, you know what? I'm just going to ride in your trunk, okay? And I'll just ride in your trunk.
That's not even what I expected to come out. This is better than a lot of medicinals. That's great. I like the friendly competition.
Hey, that's my story, because most people know Ice-T's story. Everybody knows I'm straight edge. So people like, what are you doing over here? I'm like, because it's cool. And right now also with all the fentanyl on the streets and all the lace shit, go to a dispensary where it's straight up and it's safe. So that's what it is. And every last one of my friends, I've been so high. I grew up with Snoop. All right. So I've been high. I don't think I've never been high. But yeah, that's it. So that's
Ice. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the brutal honesty, man, because the space right now, and I'm just going to say it as it is full of people that are just in it for business, that hide behind the culture and the community, and they just
They pretend that
exploit.
they care.
And let me tell you, pairing up with Mr. Soul and Brothers Grimm was the smartest decision you could have made, because it shows authenticity. Mr. Soul, and we got to ask you too. We're like the founder of Brothers Grimm Genetics, absolutely incredible. The rest of the repertoire, the receipts are all there, man. You've been through hell and back again to be able to protest for this plant.
Make sure you also talk about his pedigree, folks. We're talking about a nuclear.
That's the word I was looking for. That's
let us explain this. This is a person who is educated to the nth degree. And you talk about, somebody who's taken his skills and turning it onto an industry that needed it as much as it does. That's why I'm with Mr. Soul. I'm telling you, I'm there because we've only had two face-to-faces, and in those two face-to-faces in 5 minutes, I'm telling you, that brother knows more than I know. And and to say that, I'm going to say that takes a lot.
You guys, I'm bursting at the seams here. You're blowing up my brain. So thank you so much for those kind words. But, I think it's easy to stand out in a field where, the stereotype is a sort of a dummy, somebody who's a little spaced out, this is a stoner, and there's always been that stigma surrounding people who smoke marijuana, which I always disagreed with, because I always said, I was in the highest level of when they give you those tests in 6th grade, they put you it's like the sorting hat in Hogwarts. They send you all to your different grade levels and shit. And I was in the honor group, right? And so for me, I always felt like I like smoking weed, and I'm a smart person, and it doesn't limit me from learning more. I smoked while I was in school and college and so on. And if anything, it opened some doors and enlightened me in certain ways. Now, I'm not saying you can't get so stoned that you can't do your math equation like you would have if you were straight, but, you get to where this is an accentuator of your life, kind of like coffee, a cigarette, or cigar, whatever is your trip, right? Wine, And so I think that having a scientific background and having a master's degree in nuclear engineering taught me how to learn, taught me how to be good at things and have a precision in my work that was like uncompromising, low tolerance. You have to, or very tight tolerances on what I do to make it the way I want it to be.
Can I, Mr. Stoll, can I just jump right here for a second? Because when you're talking about this, and you said that people have the impression that, people who smoke are stoners, let us make sure we get some facts clear here on this podcast. One, let's go all the way back to this late 1600s and understand that the early 1700s, everybody who was walking on this planet smoked hemp of some sort, almost all of them. When they did a test of, how about this? When they literally redid Benjamin Franklin's presentation in the Smithsonian Institute, somebody decided to take the pipe rack that was on his desk and scrape out the pipes. And guess what they found inside of those pipes? Because if you remember, let's think about this. Back in the early 1700s, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, people were still going out in the woods wiping their butts with leaves, okay? There was no air conditioning. There were no bathtubs. There were no beds. Albert Einstein smoked pot. We know this for a fact. Yeah. Every one of our forefathers grew it. They didn't just grow it and sell it. They grew it because they were sitting on their back porches smoking a little bit themselves. The Constitution of the United States written on hemp paper. The Declaration of Independence written on hemp paper. Every sail, every rope, every bit of fabric that was made in early times was made from hemp fiber. Now, you're going to tell me that same farmer that was growing that didn't go out and smoke a little bit of that? And let's remember that hemp and cannabis are the exact same plant. It wasn't until somebody decided to come up with some arbitrary number of below 0.03 that we decided to say that there was something to distinguish the two. They've always been the same. And they've always been utilized, and they've been utilized by creative people, from musicians to scientists to engineers all over the world. And also, one last thing I want to throw in there, so for those who don't understand it, who are watching and listening, you can go ahead and check this out yourself. Remember, when there was a star in the north 2,000 years ago, and these three wise men got on a camel to go see this little dude, one of them was carrying a cannabis plant.
There you go. And that's my whole moniker, man, is stoned and successful. It's breaking that stigma. You know, I've been doing more high-end stuff, web development, marketing, content creation, you know, obviously being a father, do jujitsu, and I smoke a ton. Just as we've been sitting here, this is my second blunt. You know, so it's like not everybody can function that way. It's very strain specific, I feel. Different cultivars react with your endocannabinoid system. It's like a key, I always say, is you got to find that right key for your lock. And if you're smoking the wrong stuff, you may think, ah, man, this dumbs me down. This gives me anxiety. This doesn't work. But you find the right thing, and that all of a sudden is that key for you. And it changes your whole approach to life.
Light bulb goes off.
But real quick, shout out to Seedsman for making this show happen. Whether you're looking for legendary strains or something brand new, they've got you covered with one of the deepest seed libraries around, curated from trusted breeders across the globe and even their own genetics themselves. Photo periods, autos, regulars, they've got it all. You can filter the terp profiles, effects, or just chase the next keeper pheno for your garden. And for our listeners, Seedsman's hooking it up. Use code SESSIONS for your next order and save yourself a little bit of yen. And make sure you check out this month's special over on their website. You'll oftentimes find BOGO deals, free gifts at checkout, and plenty more. Don't sleep on it. Grab something you've never grown before, or maybe get something that you have tried in the past and want to run again. All right, now back to it.
Mr. Soul, I just wanted to real quick, what made you want to pair up and collaborate with Montel and Ice for this?
I think that, you know, I like to have some kind of inspiration for something, like when you're trying to come up with let's see, your business is making new strains of marijuana like I do. Anytime you get people that have inspiring ideas, it naturally catches your attention. And I like these guys. I can remember Montel being on TV when I was younger and Ice-T on the show. And, you know, these are childhood heroes that you look up to and you say, oh, man, that guy would want to work with me. That's cool. You know, and I know I could do him, you know, do him proud because I've been doing this a long time. I know what I'm doing. I separate myself from everyone else because I back up what I do. My methods are scientifically sound and justified by science. And so when I talk to people that start to go off the deep end and I say, okay, this is an old school guy who believes in witchcraft and moon phases. And, you know, I'm like, okay, I respect that. And if that's what works for you, great, brother. But, you know, it don't work out on paper. And I like my shit to work out on paper. And so, for example, with the White Widow and Blue Dream, as Montel was mentioning earlier, each of them are hybrids. So that means that when we're bringing these two strains together, that's a polyhybrid. Now, the predictability of the outcome on a polyhybrid is less predictable than if you took two pure strains, and you know you pretty much get the blender effect when you do that with the two different strains that are very solid. Without hybridization, will blend together almost like a 50-50 mix. We're not going to get that with the Blue Dream, not initially. That's why we have to look at the different phenos and make sure that, oh, okay, so this pheno is the pheno that we want, and we will eliminate some of the ones that don't fit that characteristic before we go to breeding. And that way we're getting the outcome that we desire by proving out the parents that are going to create that. And so that's one way of being aware of the limitations of what you're doing, and then factoring that in and compensating for that and adjusting it to get where you need to be. That I don't think that level of understanding and intricacy in breeding is commonplace in the others who do this. You know, I've been around a long time, and as I say, I take a very scientific approach to it. People will ask me, you know, how did you come up with Cinderella 99? And I say, you know, well, you get half your genes from your mother, half your genes from your father, and it kind of works from there. And you back cross enough times, it's going to be like mostly the one parent's genes go into the offspring. And that's what I was trying to do. And I was successful, you know. And so this is what I think has always separated Brothers Grimm from anybody else. It's just that, you know, very reasoned approach to breeding, and informed by the classic textbooks of, you know, hundreds of years that went into this, Mendel and all the others. You know?
I think the level of detail about you going through the process is really admirable, right? There's so many breeders out there these days that are just, they're faking it. You know, they're doing their one cross and they're just
They're throwing shit against the wall.
What's that?
Well, not
Sorry,
to
sorry.
disparage anybody.
They're throwing shit against the wall. I'm not
100%. And
comparing
it's the
that.
pollen chucking and that, thing is a lot of people, they just have one male and they shake it in a room and they don't test the F1s. The F1s, there's a lot of debate on if that F1 is an F1, and you don't know what you're getting. You're getting a mixed bag of nuts. So then when somebody describes what it's going to be on the pack, it's not going to be that. And you're thinking, in ICE's case, if you're scaling this from the home grower, so the seeds can go to the home grower or to the commercial grow. A commercial grow needs to have a predictable product. So if they're purchasing this, they're not going to pheno hunt packs of hundreds in a field. They're going to hope they're getting one, or they're going to pay 15 grand for a cut. That's a breeder's cut from somebody in Oklahoma most times. But it's to the point now where we're seeing, if we don't have these breeders, and a lot of times it's the tried and true trusted breeders that have the mothers still. If we don't have those ones, we're getting random stuff, and there's no guarantee what you're going to get is going to be legit. You're getting the runts, the cookies, the stuff that it's got its place. But again, the medicinal side, my grandma is so picky. She's 79. Her name's Rainbow. Shout out to her. She, I grow for her, and she shouldn't be smoking, but she still does. I had a buddy who had,
She's going to enjoy my White Widow, because I'm telling you, I mean, in this case, when you put these two together the way he has, you're going to get the cerebral effect that you want, but not so overpowering that you can't think. And then you're also going to get an incredible physical, anti-inflammatory effect, that's going to literally not couch lock you, not make you so tired that you can't get up. You're still going to want to get up and do your things. You're going to be able to think, but it's going to give you that little, like you're walking on a cloud.
That's exactly what she needs, man. She's an old school deadhead type, so she consumes heavy, but she needs to be able to function. And I think when you look at the two different genetics between what you guys have, I know the purple Urkel for me, and again, everybody's body's different, but the purple Urkel would be heavy head high a lot of times for me. I'd get not lethargic, but I'd get a little more. I just want to chill and watch a show and relax, kick on some Montel and smoke a blunt. However, you see that cross, you brought in the Jack Hare and Cinderella 99. That seems almost like it's still medical, but that's like the recreational strain. That's that one, the party high a little bit more versus between the two. Now, how do you look at those approaches? Did you create body count, between Ice and Mr. Soul? Did you guys create that for medicinal properties focused? Or again, with you having a dispensary, yes, it's medicinal, but there's recreational too. And there's business, dollars and cents.
Yeah, I think that body count, the name alone tells you it's recreation. You know what I'm saying? So if you got to know what you're going to, what you're trying to do. So, I don't think it would be right to name something body count and have it really, lovely. It has to be aggressive.
Yeah, this is like a big punching bag, one of those heavy bags, because it has big thick colas and it will give you a strong high, but it's that flavor and terps that people love nowadays too. It can't just all be about how the effect makes you high, but you also like that enjoyable aroma and the flavor. It's a bigger part of the experience today than it used to be when I was, coming up in 70s and 80s. We were just lucky to get some Colombian or something, some Acapulco Gold, came across it in the high school. Like, oh, wow, somebody's got the good stuff, so that is the way that I'm designing strains today. It's a much more higher level and evolved process that takes into consideration what's happening in the culture at the moment, what the intention behind the name that we're going to give the strain. A lot of times the name will come, of course, from what effect it has and what it looks like growing and all that type of thing. And so body count, I think, serves it well, because you will have a body high, but you're going to be down for the count too. That stuff will hit you.
And so, it worked. It's twofold, promotion.
Yeah, that's one thing I actually want to talk about, Mr. Soul, is we do have a lot of home growers on this podcast. So a lot of people that do know about the breeding process at a mostly elementary level and stuff like that. Before you release your genetics to the public, do you do like a series of testing? Do you have to not just do the initial cross to F1? Are you going down F2, F3, and then kind of releasing, or how do you go about it?
Let me jump in. So F1, F2, F3, F4, that type of breeding process was developed during a time when there was no such thing as artificial light. So people couldn't grow indoors when they were doing those kinds of things. And so it was necessary that they did what's called line breeding over generations to stabilize traits in the strain that the seeds would then reproduce reliably all of those traits. Today, with artificial light, you can find two parents that create an incredible cross, and then you lock them in by saying, okay, I'm always going to use these two parents. And I don't mean just plants grown from the seed that produced the plant. I mean that actual plant. So clones of the mother, and in the case of feminized seeds, the other mother, would both need to be kept to be there to produce seeds over and over. So you would take clones from those two parent plants and cross them together, and then that outcome would be repeatable every time because you're always using those same two parents. So that's how we ensure that the reliability of a pack of seeds that you bought 1 year is going to be the same as the one that you buy the next year or 10 years from now. And also, assumed in all of that is that the outcome of the cross was 100% what you were looking for, right? And it's stable in the sense that it has uniformity in all of the plants looking and performing very close to one another within a few percent.
Consuming process, I'm sure.
And then the old F1, F2, F3, F4 process, because that takes generation after generation, whereas you can become a good judge of the horse flesh, if you will, the parent stock, and then be able to breed something from those two and guess correctly. So that's kind of where the art comes from, that I feel is part of what I do.
So, Mr. Soul, there's a lot of people in our home grower space that are into washing their harvests now. I'm just curious, are these two strains based on harvesting? Like, is that going to be something we should expect to be a washer in this case, to make live rosin?
Absolutely. Most strains that come out of Brothers Grimm are really heavy in what I call keef, and what these guys would call bubble hash. That's the washed material. You're then silk screening off this incredibly fine material, which is the resin heads of the plant. And when I do Cinderella 99, for example, makes about a factor of 5 times greater amount of keef than the average plant that we do. And Rosetta Stone is up there as well in that category.
Nice.
Hey, wait, I have a question for you.
A dozen other ones that are really high keef producers. So yeah, they wash incredibly well.
It's awesome.
Talking about I've been a keef smoker now since really 2002.
I remember.
That's my primary. That's what my greatest joy is. Will the Dream Widow produce some real good keef?
Absolutely. When we show you the videos as it's coming along, and I think we have less than 2 weeks to go. It'll be the middle of this month that those plants will be harvested, and they're really coated with resin right now. So when they dry out and we break up the buds to get the seeds out, I'll send you pictures of the piles of keef that come out.
Oh my goodness! Well, you can all, I won't say it, but you know what I'm saying.
You're going to see that within like a few weeks.
Oh my goodness!
Montel, wear a condom when you look at those pictures.
Bring a towel.
I will for sure.
Yeah, no shame.
Ice-T,
No shame.
No
I had a quick question for Ice-T. I just want to ask you, you mentioned that you sometimes dabble with edibles, which I think is awesome because you say that you don't smoke. So a lot of people consider you like, oh, he doesn't even use cannabis, but you actually do. You just use it in a different form of using it as an edible. Would you ever be interested in creating like an edible strain?
Absolutely. I just don't smoke anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't smoke cigars. I don't do anything. And like I said, early in my life, I had to stay very straight edge and focus forward because I was nervous. I grew up in a different environment than a lot of you guys where everybody had a gun, right? So I'm like, I never had bodyguards and nothing, and I'm an orphan. So there's a lot of things that were saying, don't get high to me. As I got older and I got safer, I was like, okay, I'm not afraid to get high, but I just need something that'll do something for me. The first drug I did was ecstasy, and I fucked the living daylights out of my wife, and I was like, shit.
So okay, real quick, just to ask, I always heard, because I've done a lot of drugs myself, and one thing I always heard was there was a rule of thumb is no sex on X.
because then it won't be good
Because it's not the same. Yeah, only because it'll never be the same again.
I mean, no, you gotta have, I mean, don't do X if you're not gonna have sex. Let's try it.
It would be weird, I feel like, otherwise.
Homeboy or some shit. You're like,
I never tried that.
Montel's
I never tried X in my life. So listening to you guys talk, it's crazy.
but then of course I got scared of that because now the fentanyl. So now I'm like, So I'm like, okay, cool again. So now, somebody got me some gummies and I started fucking around with them. First I was like, if this should get me high or not, because I'm like, what's really going on? Then one time I was on them and I started a conversation with some people, and in the middle of the conversation, I had no fucking idea what the point was. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked up, right? So
That's how you know.
I started another conversation to test if I was fucked up. And once again, I couldn't get to the end of the story. So I got my select gummies I do at the house. I got different ones. Like Montel says, some of it's medicinal. I have a knee replacement. So, sometimes I get inflammation, different things. So, I like I said, my man said, Pigeon said, Ice is honest. Honesty is my brand. That's my brand. That's what you expect with Ice-T's going to tell you exactly what the fuck it is. And take it or leave it. It's the truth. But now that I'm in the cannabis space, I dig it. I dig the people. I dig everything that's around it. And like I say, it ain't hurting nobody. So there we go. And also, to lie and say I didn't get in it for the money is bullshit. Of course I got in it for the money.
Yeah, business.
I got in it because if you're not in it for the money, then grow at home and stay the fuck out of the conversation. But if you have a dispensary, you did that for the money.
My man.
Stop lying.
See, and that's the thing is I'd rather have people who are in the space to make money with a good backing behind it, even though not a situation like you're partnering with the right people. A lot of these MSOs, the multi-state operators who have dispensaries, or the people who partner with, genetic companies, they go with the, I'm not even gonna name brands, but Tyson did his thing and other people did it with companies that are known for like white label, and they really don't care about the community and they don't care about the plant. Like, at least you're partnering with the right people. Between both you guys, your brand's safe.
Before Brothers Grimm, I partnered with the medicine woman, which is my friends in LA who had a legal dispensary for 8 years, and it's run by a guy named my boy Luke and Sheriff Burnett. And it's based around medicine. That's why it's named the Medicine Woman. They see it as medicine and stuff. And I knew they were experts.
It is.
Yeah.
Just to throw a little piece on top of that, I got to tell you, I have said this now for 15 years. Whether we believe it or not, most people who gravitate towards cannabis are gravitating towards it for a medical reason. They may not say that,
right,
but that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing it because they want to sleep better. They're doing it because they want to relieve their tension at the end of the day. They're doing it because they got a little bit of pain, or they're doing it because, they just want to feel better. They want to wake up in the morning not being so exhausted as they are if they sit down and kill a half a fifth. So the truth of the matter is, I think whether they say it or not, recreation is a term we should be throwing out the window. It really is people who are consumers of cannabis, and they consume it for their own personal reason. That's what it's all about.
Well, I look at it like working out. Like you work out for good health, but at the same time, I want that fucking Marky Mark 6-pack.
There you go.
There's the benefit. I'm doing it for health and also for, appeal. So I think that's where, in this sense, with cannabis, it's the most beautiful thing, because you can get that, and there's the economical impact. You know what I'm saying? There's so many jobs that can come from it. There's one thing like AI and automation, and Amazon's doing all this stuff, but there's so many things with the plant that need people involved. Now, there's a lot you can automate in the space, but like a dispensary, for example, those are that's your pushers. The bud tenders, those are your deal. That's a new age dealer. So if you're not arming them in the proper way, they're not doing things right. It's the same with the breeders. You need a breeder who can understand the science behind these strains, but then the consumer who can try it to tell you how the effect is. No lab test is going to tell me this shit hits. I don't care what THC percentage, what anything. It's got to smoke right. And that's where I think.
I have a comment, if I may, on the. Go ahead, Ice, please.
About dispensaries, the gold rush is over. Like I heard you say 500 $1,000 a pound. It's not like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like almost like dispensaries are turning into liquor stores. They're just normal now. There was a time when all of a sudden, oh wow, it's legal, and everybody with lines around the block. That's not like that. Unless you have a dispensary in the middle of the boondocks where no one else has them. But if you're in a normal place, we're in Jersey City, New Jersey. There's like 10 of them. You know, the only way you're going to win is, like you say, have the correct bud tenders, have the correct people that respect you, treat them well. You know, it's not just, oh wow, you're just going to get rich doing this. It's just a business at this point. You know, that gold rush where everybody's like, oh, you're going to get, no, that's over. That's over.
Word. That's true. And when you spoke about testing earlier our strains, I kind of went on the direction of breeding procedures like F1, F2, F3, and the fact that with artificial lighting today we can avoid that whole process. But again, I want to address what I feel I left out was that the testing of the product, the seeds that are created by the two parents that we did eventually choose, we know that that's a good result, not only because we grow it ourselves and we test it ourselves and we look at it ourselves and determine that. We make mass mailings of our test strains to all of our clients, and there are then thousands of people growing these strains as they're released. And their feedback to us is how we form our decision whether we're going to make that a permanent strain that we're going to keep. And if the people love it, guess what? That test population of people who tested our strains are very customers. So our own customers are telling us this is a good one or not, and that's what decides whether it's going to go on our permanent menu or not. And I think that was one of the most brilliant things my wife Laura came up with, was that program made statistical sense, mathematical sense, in the sense that, like, wow, we now have a much greater population of testers, that then the decision that's made is based on statistically significant data, right? Because if it's just 10 or 12 plants, you might be right, you might be wrong. But when it's 12,000 plants and all these different people coming back to you with ideas and observations that seem to all merge together and say, yeah, that guy sounds like he's getting the same thing the other guy got, and so on and so forth. I think it's just the best possible way that you could test the outcome of our products.
That's the kind of testing I like to see. Again, 20 years growing, I've been consuming for longer than I like to admit. And I think that that's really where you've got an upper hand, because you've been doing this so long, but you have the customer base that can give you the data, the social proof that this is good, not just a name that's hot. And
brother, when you talk about been doing it for a long time, you know, I'll throw it out there. I'm 69. I've been smoking since I was 13.
Age rate, bro, 11 on 4. I mean,
you look great, brother.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was a little rougher over there, so we got to do things a little looser, we'll say.
But you know, I mean, right there alone, man, I got 60 or 53 years of this in me. And you know, when asked, which two cultivars would you like to see pushed together or put together? When, you know, it was White Widow and Blue Dream, I'm guaranteeing you that's my thoughts after 53 years of sampling everything under the sun. And those are my two favorite. And so I am just so psyched and so excited about what's going to come out at the other end.
Didn't need any better reason than that to do it.
Of course not. Of course not. That passion is infectious. Montel, like, if I may, you taking White Widow, which is an extreme trichome abundant, THC heavy. Did you want to
think about its lineage? Because this is a cross between a Brazilian plant and an Indian indica landrace plant. So you put those two together, you know, now you've got something that by itself would be the perfect hybrid.
Agreed.
Now take that and mix it with two more hybrids, which is blueberry and haze 1. Mix those two together. Now that's another perfect one. Now put all 4 together, and what do you have? You can have something that, you know, ranges, Mr. Soul, it'll probably range somewhere between 18 and 24 on that THC list, if that's what people are looking for. But when you start looking,
if you could take that strain and have it represented by a musician, it would be Alicia Keys, brother. You know, it would be like something beautiful, voice, beautiful looking, plays piano like a goddess. This is everything coming together.
Pretty with or without makeup.
And you take a look at what the primary terpenes are in this, and we know that you've got a terpene profile that's going to deliver. You can understand when you read the profiles of some of the other things you consume, you recognize that something's got a little myrcene in it, some caryophyllene in it, maybe a little bit of pinene, not that much. But, as you start looking across that, and we know terpenes have been around for 50 years. It's not just about cannabis that we find terpenes. You find terpenes in daggone broccoli. Okay? So now,
shit. I love it.
Yeah, it's like making a perfume. So then once you put those together, man, that's what's happening inside your body. Like you had said earlier, someone said it earlier, most people who don't know anything about your endocannabinoid system will recognize that CB1, receptors pick up the THC, CB2 picks up all the other, cannabinoids. And, when you have something that's rich, I can't wait to see the COA on this, because I will bet you, this is me just talking, not talking smack, I will bet you that your CBC levels are higher. I will bet you that there'll be a little higher level of CBG that just kind of resides in that plant. And then you're also going to probably see the CBD levels are going to be around 30%, I don't know, somewhere in there. So this is going to be a really, 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 really nice hybrid that I think is going to keep on giving. First time you try it, you're going to go, ooh, this is nice. Second time you try it, then you're going to finally taste it. And when you taste it, you're going to go, oh my goodness, I get a little touch of citrus at the top, a little blueberry in there, a little earth in there. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you've got Mr. Soul doing it, it's going to have all of those. I can guarantee it. So my question is kind of
tasting.
This is fantastic, right up my alley. My question is kind of twofold. So to Montel, because White Widow traditionally so heavy in THC, so heavily in the euphoric high, the kind of the mental high. Then you've got the Blue Dream, which is the exact opposite. It's more of a sedative, more of a relaxing body stone. I'm curious, what was your intention for like the effects, and what kind of feeling is the consumer going to take when they take that in?
Mr. Soul, you can address this. For me, I think, let me tell you this. When I was in Amsterdam, I literally bought, some keef of one, keef of the other, put it in a bowl as a salad, and walked away feeling better than I had ever felt in about a year and a half. And why? Because it hit my neuropathic pain. It actually hit the receptors in my brain that make me feel the pain that I feel on a daily basis. But instead of feeling it and being so robust and right there at the top, it was in the back of my mind. It was like, okay, it's there, but I don't care about it. And at the same time, then it made me want to become creative and literally sit down and start thinking about some of the things that I needed to work on and thinking about things I need to work on myself. So I think it's going to be this combination of this really, really, really controlled euphoria that gives you a controlled body blend. You're not going to be couch locked. I think you're going to want to get up. You better be careful, because if you do it too hard, you may be cleaning the kitchen for about 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. I think it'd be great for musicians. I'm a musician, a guitar player, a singer, and when I have a wee bit of the right kind of weed, it always inspires me, and I start feeling like, hey, sounding good tonight. I'm feeling this, and I'm in the pocket, and I'm like, and I think that's one of the greatest gifts that weed gives us, is that connection to our soul, body, rhythm, all the the sensations that one can feel a little self-conscious about otherwise, and I think that that's probably why when people get high, they feel a slight paranoia if they're not used to it, because they're all of a sudden self-aware. And when you think about, being self-conscious, it's kind of a misnomer, because it's more like, it's not yourself you're conscious of. It's everything else around you that suddenly you become conscious of. And when you're with other people, you're conscious of the fact that they're conscious of you. And that's what's bothering you, right? I used to say, when I would sell weed to somebody, if they leave the house like within 10 minutes after trying the weed, they're fucking happy with the weed, because they can't wait to get the fuck out of there and be by themselves, because they're high as shit, right? So that I was always like thinking that, but for sure. And then when it came to terpenes, I'm sorry if I go on too long, but Montel got me started on the idea of the terpenes, and he knows his different terpenes and what they smell like and so forth. And I think that this cannabis industry is ripe for somebody to come along. Now pay attention, Ice-T, because you're the entrepreneur and you like the idea of the businesses and stuff, but imagine cannabis-based perfumes, colognes, that kind of stuff, where that's where the scent is coming from.
Like
I think that
pheromones
there's a whole
almost.
world of, like, I would so buy a men's cologne that smelled like Rosetta Stone. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yes.
Kush is my cologne, as some say.
No, you're onto something. You're onto something. And I just want to ask you the same thing.
Check.
idea there that could go a long way.
I just want to ask you the same thing, because earlier you mentioned that because you don't smoke, you didn't particularly enjoy that delay that you felt.
I don't have a problem with the delay. I just noticed that was the only
Right.
tell off of people who were smoking weed. Everybody around me was smoking weed, and they had a chronic delay. Like they had it might be a second, right? And I always felt that second would get me shot in the head. You understand?
That's a fair assumption. You're a project of your environment.
Right. You know, when they say duck, and I go,
Huh?
I got to move. So that's all it was. So I was really saying that as a joke, but really saying that's the only problem I could find with marijuana. And if
that's fair. And science actually backs your argument in regards to those that consume via smoking in particular. Your reaction time is in fact, or at least proven to be slower for those that took the test. And we don't need to get into that. We don't need to get into that. But my question was just, what were you looking for that you felt that was particular to your desires for a good balance of cannabinoids? Like what should someone feel if they're going to consume yours?
I mean, me being such a new person to this and not knowing, I'm just putting everything in the hands of Brothers Grimm. You know,
I could field that question for you. You know, I could field that question.
I'm not in any way able to create it. You know, so I just had to say, I was just trying to find out if they were the best or if they were fake. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, on the other side of the celebrity shit, there's a lot of people that are trying to connect to us and their bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And then they connect to you and you co-sign them and catch with them, and everybody goes, "Oh, Ice, you hooked up with some suckers." Like those people are fake, or those people are like the ones my man was talking about. Those are the NSOs. So I wanted to make sure I was hooking up with the best in the business, the most real in the business, the most true. Then I know how long Montel's been involved. So when they told me Montel's involved, I was like, Montel's is a weed expert. Like, I know
that's a cosign and a half right there.
Everybody's co-signing everybody. And then when I finally talked to this dude, and he's a fucking nuclear physicist, scientist, I'm like, the fuck? I mean, I've been around drugs my whole life. I ain't never met a motherfucker this smart. I'm gonna keep it 100. So I was like, okay,
too kind.
Place. Nobody's gonna sideswipe me and say that I'm doing some bullshit, and I'm just counting on them. I'm not as seasoned as Montel is with this.
I'm here for you, brother.
You got the right crew, man.
I respect your, trust in me, and my reputation, I think, does precede me. And I think that, you were well advised, and I will make sure that you never regret it, because we're going to get you an output that, those seeds are they're on the street right now, and people are giving us positive feedback to what they're seeing so far. It takes about 4 months from the day that the people get the seeds to what they harvest a plant. So around that time is when we're really going to see people showing pictures and talking it up. But it's got a really strong start. And the intention, by the way, Pigeon, was that the effect that we want from this is for, like I said earlier, a great yielding plant for the grower, something that really is impressive looking in the bud form, because it's big yielding, dense, and resinous bud. And the high will make you feel strong and smart and not lethargic, but at the same time, a body calmness. Like when you have self-confidence, you can feel very alert and aware, but that confidence makes you kind of float as you're walking through the room, right? So this is what I wanted to do in honor of iced tea.
Basically, the weed is,
Mr. Soul,
the weight, my seed is going to turn you into me. That's what it's going to be.
See?
You ought to send these guys a copy of that video that you sent me last week about in the grow room, man, because I'm telling you, the White Widow, the buds look insanely beautiful.
Right? I just
this
took
is
a
where,
few
again,
minutes in the grow room to like have my boy do a quick video of me holding up the buds of the plants as they were growing and to show the differences between the two strains. And I mean, you couldn't help noticing how white they were, you know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Sparkle City.
Stop playing. Send me.
like, where's Ice's
We
shit?
got to get you in the little chain here.
Got to get in the group message, man. Get the memes and stuff.
That sounds right up my alley for sure. And just for the folks that are listening in, it is available right now. Body Count, Fem version is available on Seedsman. Discount code SESSIONS. That'll get you.
Save yourself a little yen.
And Montel's, correct me if I'm wrong here, we've got the release date on
End of the month.
30th. Montel's Dream Widow. So that'll be on the website as well. Yeah, seedsman.com. And get you.
Plenty of time for Christmas, folks.
Well, $1 per pack. What I love too, man, is both you guys did $1 per pack donating. You got ice to minorities for medical MJ, obviously, and then we've got the Hero Grown Foundation for Montel. It's really cool to see you guys kicking back. This is something, you know, as a collective, we've done charity streams and things, and it's tough in the cannabis space because the banking and everything, but to be able to take a product that you're already distributing and then to be able to take a piece off and give back to it, it's huge, man. It's really good to do. There's not a lot of people doing it.
We may start to contribute another $1 from each pack to the local food banks if things keep up.
Dude, right now that'd be huge. There's a lot of people struggling right now.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's what's really needed right now.
I've always been into giving back. It's like, when you gamble and you hit the jackpot, you pay the dealer. You know, you gotta. That's how you keep that good energy for you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. You keep that karma. So anytime there's money being made, like we got all these people we hired from the community to work with us. I mean, it's only right. You want to get that good karma. That I call it voodoo. You want that good voodoo around you. Mm-hmm. So definitely, we definitely might need to get some money to the food banks. That's a good idea because people
right. This is the current, man. It's current. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
right
man. That's huge.
We also got to keep shouting out to this community, man, because I'm telling you, with the shit that's going on, like in Massachusetts, where they're trying to roll back some of the medical, or they're rolling back the recreation there, they're trying to roll it back in other places around the country. We have to be more vigilant than we have been. I've said this for the last year. I do a podcast myself, which is called Let's Be Blunt with Montel. And in my podcast, I've been talking about the fact that, in the last year and a half, it's that tidal wave of these people who, for no other reason other than they are just, excuse my French, but just assholes who don't want other people to have what they don't want to use. And it's starting, man, I'm telling you. And this industry doesn't do itself a service because we're spending so much time fighting against each other rather than coming together and trying to figure out that rising tide is going to lift all boats. So, let's keep donating to all those special causes, especially food bank. But we as an industry got to come together and come up with a one message, and that is we have a right to what nature gave us.
Can I just expand on that a little bit, Montel? You raise an excellent point, of course. And I think that all industries across the table, they have their representatives who lobby the politicians and bring money into, from their end of the world, or their businesses contribute toward making sure that the legislation is shaped to favor their industry. I don't think we have anybody doing that. And we're billions of dollar industry. Why don't we have anybody who can lobby for us?
Once we do it for their own company.
So in the United States alone this next year, 2025, we will probably see $34 to $35 billion worth of legal cannabis sold, and somewhere around $90 billion of gray and black market cannabis sold. And we haven't come together and formed an industry yet. This is absolutely asinine, ridiculous. If we're not on the ballot, if we're not on the ballot in 2028, then we may as well kiss this entire industry goodbye. And when I say kiss it goodbye, excuse me, we've already seen that there's somebody who's ready to put the National Guard on the ground to just go after people because of the color of their skin. Yeah. Don't think for 1 second they won't put the National Guard on the ground to shut down what are legal state-run dispensaries.
Oh yeah, they'll shut down the home grows too. Like that's the thing is,
president of the cannabis nation.
There you go, man.
Hey, man, I'll take that. I'll take that position on in a heartbeat.
I love it.
Hell yeah,
take it on because my brother. There was a while where we were getting ready to try to put together a third party organization that was around cannabis. Redman was so far behind that, but unfortunately got some nefarious people involved. And then, they tried to blow this thing up the wrong way. We need to do it again, and we need to do it right. We need to come together and recognize that, like I said, the rising tide will lift all boats. Right. So if we're together as a single force, if we are a organization that has and puts a little bit of money into walking down to Washington, D.C. and knocking on the doors of those who are smoking anyway.
Right. We got to
let people know.
We're like any other industry. We're job creators. We're taxpayers. We're a multi-billion-dollar business. If we didn't capitalize on the fact that we are so big and strong, and then we are allow ourselves to be beaten, it would be, in retrospect, we'd be looking back on it like, why did we sleep through that whole fucking thing? We could have we had the money and the power to influence the way that legislation was being formed, and we let them go against us somehow. How the fuck did we do that?
I've been fighting these battles for years, and I've found that the hardest thing to accomplish out of everything is unity. That's the hard thing. So this is the most difficult thing. We can get a couple people to do something, but to get people to come together like Montel's talking about, that's the most difficult task. We can't even get our country to come together. So
have you noticed in the last 5 years, like let's go back 10 years ago when the industry was starting to take off and people were starting to invest in it and try to get it moving. There were proud smokers out there. There were people who were proud of being, a member of the cannabis community. I defy you to tell me in the last 2.5 years, haven't you noticed that your friends went back to sneaking out to the back porch again when they have a party and smoking? All of a sudden, it's become something that, what is this whole negative thing? We've been around long enough now. We should be able to stand proud, but we don't stand proud because we've been beaten down by this group of people with big mouths who are coming after us. We need to stand up and stand proud.
100%. And I think a big thing doing this show help, man. When we're the home grow community and the commercial grow community, it's a fight constantly. They look at us as we're black market, we're selling backdoor stuff. I just grow for my family, literally. But home growers are a threat. And then the consumer doesn't care about anybody. They just want the best price. So it's like we need to find that middle ground to say, hey, we all love the plant. Let's rock together. It's not just commercial growers and business versus home growers and the consumers don't care. Like, let's unite.
Didn't the beer companies knock that shit off? And when they started going after the microbreweries, they started embracing the microbreweries because they recognize that the more micros are out there, the more consumers are out there.
Exactly.
This is what this entire MSO industry needs to understand.
They have
the
a
more
trapper
home
mentality.
growers, the more consumers.
The shift
Amen.
is happening. The shift is happening. What the breweries didn't have back then, what they had was the dominance of capitalism that we have today. And when weed, if you will, I'm in Canada, but when we went legal, it was dominated by people with money. It was people with pump money, and those people are now getting weeded out now that they realize that you can't just grow a plant in a couple weeks. It takes months. And then in fact, it takes some time to cure, to distribute it. Those people are weeding out. We're starting to see mom and pop shops able to try to get, a foothold. It's not easy, but through these conversations that we're having right now, more people have the ability to talk about it. That spreads the awareness of this plant. And people who didn't know it are now on our side. So it's important we have these conversations. It's important we stand tall and we don't give in to the infighting. Don't be distracted. We're on the same damn team. That's really what it is.
That shit to us already. Let's not let the cannabis space do it to us.
No. Gentlemen, what a conversation.
You're going to be Montel's vice president.
Count me in, brother.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
This was an absolute blessing to the three of you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks.
We'll see you guys next time.
Keep the mission alive.
Peace. Again, huge thanks to Mr. Soul, Montel, and Ice-T for being on this episode. Legendary guest here, and it was an honor to be able to speak with them. If you're looking for any of their genetics or anything from Seedsman, make sure you go to seedsman.com and use discount code SESSIONS to save yourself a little bit again. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.